Hi boys and girls, so this is Tuesday's video on subtraction with regrouping. I meant to show you this in yesterday's video, but this is the worksheet for Monday for addition with regrouping that hopefully you've all found by now. And then this is the worksheet for today on subtracting with regrouping. And so the goal is for you to work through all these problems, check your work. We say at the top, independent practice, not submitted or turned in. So the goal is to have you check your work on your own and then reach out to your teacher for an individual Zoom time or something if you are struggling and need help, because this is all a review that we've already done before in class. And then on Friday you'll have your quiz just to see how you're doing and what you might need help in. So I'm gonna get right into it. It's very similar to the addition with regrouping, but instead you might need to borrow some or pull from another number, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So 546 minus 419. So just like addition, we start here in the ones place. So we have 6 minus 9. So right off the bat, we are stuck because say you have 6 cookies and you try to take away 9 of them, it's just not possible because you only have 6. So to do that, we have to borrow from the next column, which is the tens place. So you cross out the 4, you make it a 3, and then you put the 1 in front of the 6 to make it 16. And the reason why it's 16 and not 7, because you might be saying, Miss Warren, we only pulled away 1 from the 4 to make it 3, so this should be 7. But the 4 is in the tens column, so really that 4 stands for 40. And this 10, or this 1 stands for 10, this 4 stands for 400, and this 5 stands for 500. So that's something that you have to kind of have in the back of your head, that when you're borrowing, that 4 isn't just 40, it's 40. So when you pull over that 1, it's a 10 to make it 16. So then you have 16 minus 9. So 16 minus 9 is 7. We can do that because you can take away 9 from 16. So that's kind of the question you have to ask yourself when you're working on each column or in each place value. You have to say, can I take away the bottom number from the top number evenly? So for example, or not evenly, but is it possible? So for this one, we have 3 or 30 minus 1 or 10. So can you take away 10 from 30? Yes. So when you take away the 10 from 30, it equals 20. So you put the 2 down in the tens place. And then you have 5, which is also 500, minus 4, or 400, which would equal 1, or 100. So then your total answer is 127. So I hope that was pretty clear, but I'm going to walk us through a couple more examples just for good practice. So the example I have here is 457 minus 368. So we start right in our ones place, 7 minus 8. If you have 7 cupcakes, can you take away 8 of them? Nope, there's not enough. So you're going to have to pull from the next place value, which is a 5. So we are going to make that a 4. And then put the 1 before the 7, making it 17. So now we have 17 minus 8 equals 9. 4 minus 6, and we can't take that away because if you have 4 objects, you can't take away 6 of them. So we're going to cross out the 4 and borrow 1. So we're going to make the 4 a 3. Carry the 1 into the tens place. So now we have 14 minus 6, which is 8. And then we have 3 minus 3, which is 0. So you can either put the 0 down or you can put nothing down. But really what the answer is it's 89. Because that's a 0 in the hundreds place. So it's just 89. The next one I'm going to do is a little trickier because it's going to be in the thousands. And you might get this problem and look at it and say, oh my gosh, that's way too many numbers, I can't do that. But really you can, because you're just focusing on each column and it's easy to work through because you guys have these subtracting skills and strategies that you've been taught. So it should be pretty simple. So you take the 9 in the ones place and you subtract 9. 9 minus 9 is 0. We move on to the next column. 5 minus 7. If you have 5 objects, you can't take away 7 of them because it's too much. So you're going to have to pull, make this 5 or 500 a 4 or 400, and then bring the 1 back to make it possible for us to subtract. So then we have 15 minus 7, which is 8 or 80. Then we can go over here. We have 4 minus 5. If you have 4 objects, you can't take away 5 of them because it's too many. So you're going to have to pull and borrow. So if you can see, every time we pull, we just drop that number by 1 and then carry that 1 right over every single time. So we're up to 14 minus 5 is 9, and then 2 minus 1 is 1. So then 1,980 is the answer. Oop, I went right through there, but you guys can see how I worked that one out. All right, next we're gonna take a number in the thousands and subtract something in the hundreds. So we have 1 minus 5. Is 1 minus 5 possible? Nope. So we're gonna pull from the tens place, make that a 6, because we're dropping it by 1. Make this an 11. So 11 minus 5 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. 3 minus 3 is 0. And 7 minus 0 is 7. So the answer is 7,006. And so something with this that I want you guys to be careful of, it happened twice. So when we did 6 minus 6, it was 0, and 3 minus 3, it was 0. So I don't want you to think, oh, 3 minus 3, I'm gonna have to borrow, because it's fine. 0 is still a number, it's still a value. So it's okay if it's 3 minus 3, you keep the 0 there. The only time you borrow is when you need more of it to be able to subtract. So if that was 2 minus 3, then you would have had to borrow from the 7 to be able to subtract that one. And then something else I want you guys to be careful of is when you're looking at 2 numbers to subtract, sometimes a mistake that's made is that you either add them, or something else that's made is a mistake that's made. For example, if we look back up here, when we had 6 minus 9, sometimes you might do 9 minus 6 on accident and put a 3. But that's going to totally change the value of the entire problem. So you have to make sure that you're doing the top minus the bottom, okay? All right, so those are a few examples for you all. And I'm going to give you a couple word problem examples. So it says, Ellie found a box full of markers in her closet. She had 672 markers. She decided to donate 299 of them to her art class. How many does she have left? So as you can see, I circled the 2 important numbers that I found throughout the word problem. And so it's saying she had 672, and then she donated, which means she gave away or took away 299 of them. So it's really important that the 672 is on the top and the 299 is at the bottom. And you might ask why? Why does it matter which one's on the top and which one's from the bottom? Well, if you took away the 299 from if you took away 672 markers from the 299, that's not what the question's asking, because they're saying that they had 672 markers and then they gave away or donated 299 of them. So it's really important to pay attention to the vocabulary, because those numbers might be swapped too. Because if we had wrote, she gave away 299 markers, she had 672 in total, then it's still the 672 first, because that's the big number that's having things taken away from it. So just because a number comes first in the word problem doesn't always mean that that's going to be the number that is put on the top. So that's why it's important to circle your numbers when doing your word problems, and then go back and read those specific words, saying that she had that many markers and then she donated 299 of them, because then we know that that's how many she's taking away from the 672. So those are really easy mistakes to make, to watch out for. And then on top of figuring out how to set up your problem, you then have to solve it. So we start in our ones place and we have 2 minus 9, which we know we can't do. So we need to borrow from the tens place. So we turn that 7 into a 6 and we bring the 1 back to make this 12. And now it's 12 minus 9, which equals 3. Then we go to our tens place and we have 6 minus 9, which again, we know is impossible. So we need to scratch from the 6, make it a 5, and then make this one 16. Then we do 16 minus 9, which is 7, and then 5 minus 2, which is 3. So the answer is 372, or 372 markers. So they know what you're talking about. And the trick that's awesome with subtracting is that you can then, well, you can do it with addition too, but with subtraction, it's really easy to check your work, because when you take one number and you take something away from it, it equals that other number. But you can also add these two numbers to then equal 672, and that's how you know if your answer is correct. So you would take the 299 markers that she took away or donated, you add it to how many she had left, which was 373, and then when you add it all together, 9 plus 3 is 12, carry the 1, 9 plus 1 is 10, 10 plus 7 is 17, sorry. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, so then it's 672, which matches the 372, so we know that we are correct. So you can put a little check mark or a correct mark to show that you checked your work and it's correct. And you can also rewrite this in a whole sentence by saying, she has, or Ellie has, 372 markers left. So that's an awesome way to go back and check your work that you can do with the other problems too. It's not just word problems. When you add up what you subtracted and your final number, you should get that number that you started with. Because if you have 10 cupcakes and you give away 6 of them, you have 4 left. So 6 plus 4 is 10. So that's a good way to look at it and a good trick to have up your sleeve for when you're taking a test. So let's move on to the next one. Brian had 188 fish in his pond. He gave 59 of them to the aquarium. How many fish does he have left? So in my little amount of space that I have down here, I'm going to do 188 minus 59. So I'm going to start in my ones place. So 8 minus 9, you can't take away 9 objects from 8, so I have to take away, sorry, this is kind of going into my writing here, but we make that 8 a 7, make this 18. 18 minus 9 is 9. 7 minus 5 is 2. 1 minus 0 is 1. So 129 fish. And then you could go back and check your work and do 129 plus 59 and see if it equals 188 to check your work. And you guys should be great. So those were a couple examples on how to work through the word problems. Remember that it's not always going to be in order. It's not always going to be pretty and out there for you, but you can always go back and check your work. You can always reread the problem to make sure that you're understanding it correctly. So have these strategies there with you while you're working through your math for the week, and I'm confident you guys will all do great. Have a great day.